early on in your career, weren't you a sparring partner for Klitschko, and then were you not sent home?
Yes, I was a sparring partner for WLADIMIR KLITSCHKO for several camps, 3 or 4 camps. The last one I was actually Vitaly. I was in the camp with Vitaly Klitschko. They don't go in the gym together. They don't train together. And they actually never even went in the gym together in like over 10, 12 years at this point. They've always promised their parents that they would never fight and spar or any of that, because anytime that something they actually fight, a freak accident would happen. They'd break their leg, or it'd be something crazy that was not normally common in boxing would happen, and it would, mess them up. So they always promised that they would, that's why they never fought each other. They promised their parents that they would never do that. But this particular time, Vladimir had just came in the gym, and I was in Vitaly's camp, and I got the best of Vitaly, and it was on a Thursday. And I had one more sparring on Friday. I told my guy, I said, man, this is going to be the last day we're going to be here, because for the last 3, 4 camps, I haven't been able to. I used to see the openings, and I used to, I was always being held back. I was always there to get the money. I had my own nationals coming up. I needed the money. You know what I'm saying? I was trying to, I was amateur at that point. So, I was making a decent, pay. As an amateur, you get paid a little less if you're a pro. I was doing so well that they started paying me pro money. And actually, even they started paying me a little bit more than that. I was actually, because I became the main sparring partner. I was like, the lead sparring partner. And I was only an amateur. Like I said, I end up getting the best of Vitaly, and I said, I'm going to go all the way with this on the next day. And sure enough, WLADIMIR KLITSCHKO suited up and put his stuff on, and I was like, oh, snaps. And I was the only person to spar WLADIMIR KLITSCHKO this day. And WLADIMIR was not training. He was not in camp. He just happened to just be there. They were the news was making a big noise about it, especially over there in Europe, because they hadn't been in the same gym in a long time. They train at the same camp, the exact same camp, and they never were at the same time. You know what I'm saying? They never had the fight at the same time. And if one they did, one would go to Ukraine and train. Vitaly would go somewhere else. He was more like that. Go somewhere else, and Vladimir would go to Austria, the Stengelwart, beautiful resort. It's all wood. It's really beautiful. Even the cell phone, it's all wood, and everything's organic. The water is coming right off from the mountains. We used to crack up and say, like, you get a carrot juice or an orange juice, it got a little dirt in there because it's like right from there. You know what I'm saying? It's just it's just so natural and organic and stuff. And yeah, but the next day, Vladimir he was livid. And my manager, now all of them tried to stop the sparring. I said, no. Bashir, I don't know if you know Bashir. He's a coach. He he worked with them, under Manuel Stewart. And I had a couple other guys that were trying to stop it. And I said, no, this is really what I really wanted. I wasn't trying to disrespect him in any way. I had been built up. I had been in camp for 4 or 5 camps, and I wanted to see what I got. And I always had to taper off, get paid. I told my guy, I said, this is it. And me and Vladimir went at it. We went toe to toe. I still got the best of him, I would say. I got the best of him, and I went out there with a big smile on my face, because really he wanted to knock me out. He tried to knock my head off, and he almost did, but the bell rang and it was it. And I got through the 4 rounds or whatever we had agreed upon or whatever. He was.
So first of all, he steps in because he really wanted to teach you a lesson for his brother. That's the first thing. And
and it's always been like that. If you beat one, you got to go to the other one.
Right. And then on top of that, for people that don't know, usually the pros get in amateurs because the style's a little bit different. You're quicker. You're able to kind of push them aerobically, all that kind of stuff. You come in now and it's like you're not fitting that mold, it sounds like.
Right. That's right. That's right. And I was tearing their butt up. Now, when I fought Vladimir, I really wanted to knock him out myself. I was like, this is really, I really wanted. Couldn't get him. He was too fired up, really. Every shot was, woo, boy, he was trying to knock me out. And, but I got the best of him. I wasn't able to hit him as much in the head as I usually do, because usually we were familiar with each other. I was able to do certain tricks. He wasn't going for that, but I was able to get a lot more body shot than normal. And I was going to the body hard too. I was making sure he felt him, and he was, and when that bell rang and Bashir, Everybody was like, "Ooh, boy," because the last punch, I was looking at the clock and I could see it. I was like, he was coming on. I was like, "Oh snap!" And he doesn't lose form. He stays in his form very well, and he lunged over, and I did like that on the ropes, and my back was way on the ropes, like real far back, just so he wouldn't hit me. And boy, I'm telling you, if he would have hit me, I would have been in the hospital because he would have knocked me out of the ropes onto the floor. And they have a high, the ring is high when they spar. You have to go up the steps, like a regular ring. The ring that they train in is the exact ring that they fight in. They take the ring and wherever they fight, they take that ring. A lot of people don't know that, but yeah, they train in the exact ring that they fight in. So, he was gonna, he tried me and it didn't work. But I had my flight information. Now we fight, that's like we spar about, in the evening, like 3 or 4 o'clock. I had my flight information before dinner, which is like at 7 o'clock, and they had to pay extra money to get me out of there. And I bumped into Vitali, and they have like a salt room and all these recovery stuff. And I had bumped into him. I went to go recover later on that evening. We ended up being in the sauna together, and it was just me and him. And I forgot how we started talking or whatever. And what he told me was like, the reason why I'm sending you back home is because exactly what you just said. You're too amateur. You're too amateur and you don't fit the mold. And I already knew what it was, and I was very humble and respectful, and I said, I understand, I appreciate it. And they paid. I was supposed to be there for another 2 weeks. They paid me the rest of my money and sent me home, and I was a happy camper.
Yeah, the money's great, but also the experience. You could have enjoyed 2 more weeks of that experience learning off 2 professionals. But I say that to say this. Is it sometimes that situation is a little bit like being a journeyman, that you can do what you can do, but you almost have to massage people's egos?
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying, though?
Yes, and it's like that, and and I have a certain understanding too. Like when I go into certain camps, I'm not really trying to beat up on them. They're trying to get paid, and they don't want their team members don't want them to do that, and they don't want to get injured or nothing crazy. But so there is a certain thing, a certain way you want to approach yourself and present yourself. You know what I'm saying? But it's fighting. You know what I'm saying? You still have to be you in a sense. So me just being me was too much, and even though that, like he said, he kind of laughed it off and kind of like, he kind of used his he kind of over trumped me in a sense, in that way, by his ego. But I was satisfied and I was okay with that. Now, that was the last time I was there too. So yeah, shout out to those boys. Good dudes though, they good dudes.
I just like, yeah, get this kid out of here.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Sorry. It's
Yeah.
it's funny, but the thing is, I don't think people really realize how much ego is in this game. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yes,
this kid, who the
exactly.
fuck does he think he is?
Exactly. And I know this is a fight game, so we have to have some type of ego or something, but it is what it is. Because I enjoyed being there. And I was like a naive kid there. You know what I'm saying? I was just soaking everything up. I was just grateful and humble, and I didn't want to disturb any situations. But it's just every camp I just kept going. I said, man, what if I do this though? You know what I'm saying? I could do these things. When I opened up when that WLADIMIR Klitschko fight, I was able to see a little bit, but I was like, oh man, he was just so mean. You know what I'm saying? He was just so mean. And Vladimir was literally, he's a meaner, out in the front, he's meaner in initially. Vitali's like cool, laid back, he's a little cooler. It was what it was. They have that sparring on video. I'll tell you another little story. One time, Big Baby Miller was sparring Vladimir Klitschko. And now you're not allowed to videotape. Only they're allowed to videotape. I was able to, like me and him were boys, I was able to get some footage. I was like, over there in the corner, and I think Vladimir really caught me. He seen me, but I gave the camera and all that to Big Baby after the sparring was done, because we want to see, we want to be able to, you know what I'm saying, see what we got, you know? Yeah, so I gave it to him. He was able to look, and Vladimir was coming over. I think he knew, but we didn't give him the cameras. We were like, I don't know what you're talking about. But so Big Baby got footage of him sparring Vladimir. That might be the only footage of sparring of him and Vladimir. Of Vladimir sparring.
That'd be worth a lot of money. I understand from both points of view why he wouldn't want that to get out, but I also understand why you guys would want to see, like, yeah, what we got. Even though they made you pack your bags, did they kind of give you any pearls of wisdom?
You know what? Just like I said, when just that moment in that salt room, and he kind of told me that was enough wisdom in itself. You know, he didn't tell me directly, but it was. I read it. It was all over him. You know what I'm saying? And Vladimir didn't say much. He was cool. He bumped your fist. He say, you know, what's up, but he go to work. It's like he's the younger brother, so it's like he had a lot to prove, and he had that chip on his shoulder. You could see it every time. Vladimir, to watch him and to see him present himself in the ring, and just how he conducted himself, to able to see a real professional conduct himself as a real professional as he did, and that was really cool to see, because even then, now I still haven't had a camp. I've been in AJ camp, I've been all sorts of camps, and none of them have been professional like that. Time scheduled, and, the food, and, you know what I'm saying, just the way he conducted himself, the way he trained, you know what I'm saying, he grabbed the guys together, like he took us all out to eat, you know what I'm saying, after, like, when it was getting towards the end, he conducted himself like a real professional and a real true champion, and I enjoyed, being around him, and being, seeing him conduct himself in that manner. It was real, cool and eye-opening, because you don't really have those guys that are like that and real, stand up like that. So, and that's something I always had inspired to be anyway. So, I thought it was really dope to, watch him and be in his facility, in his space.